It's the Peach State Derby to wrap up the regular season for the Greenville Triumph and South Georgia Tormenta, presented by Pella Medical Center. The historical matchup writes its next chapter tonight as one of these teams hoists the series trophy. Welcome one and all to this broadcast on ESPN+. My name is Mark Schoenster. As always, I'm joined by Ross Davenport here. Here are the standings brought to you by Hopkins Eye Center. For Tormenta, eliminated last weekend, so this one's from Pride. Meanwhile, for the Greenville Triumph, they're trying to solidify that 4th seed.
It is pretty simple for the Triumph. They must match or at least beat One Knox's result later tonight in Spokane if they want to clinch that 4th spot and a home quarterfinal against either One Knox or Charlotte.
3 points is what would do it, and someone they're looking for to help them in that regard is Liam McKinnon, and he has another mission in this game tonight, which is to claim sole top spot in the Golden Boot race.
He does. He comes into tonight tied with Juan Carlos Obregon Jr. for that lead in the Golden Boot race. 6 goals in his last 5 games. He only scored twice in June, July, and August, but he's got things going now. That run of form has coincided with Greenville getting healthy. They are a little short-handed tonight. We'll get to that later, but McKinnon, he'll be on the left side as usual tonight, causing Tormenta's veteran right back Curtis Thorne some serious headaches.
Liam McKinnon become quite a darling here for the Greenville Triumph. And speaking of Greenville darlings, a familiar face on the other side of the pitch. Aaron Walker, after 5 years with Greenville, will be playing against his former team.
Yeah, he entered this season unsigned, the 34-year-old, but he was snagged by Ian Cameron in July to help shore up this midfield. He's been nearly ever present in the lineup since then. Reigning goal of the week winner after a pile driver in that loss to Omaha. There's no doubt Aaron Walker will get a warm reception tonight, at least before the game. We'll see what happens after the game.
You can see here, he has the ability to score some bangers. He did it for Greenville, and he's now done it for Tormenta. Will Aaron Walker become a Reedy River villain tonight? Or do the Triumph guarantee this won't be their final home game at Paladin Stadium? Only one way to find out, and that's to stay locked in right here on ESPN+. We'll see you on the other side.
Here's a twist on your typical banking options. What if instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you had one bank that's the best of both? That's First Horizon. Big bank muscle with small bank hustle. Big bank convenience and small bank connection. When the best of big meets the best of small, you get it all. To help you on the road to your horizon. First Horizon Bank.
Welcome to Wood Creek Dental, where dental care is a family tradition. For over 40 years, we are proud to be a family-owned practice serving the community of Greenville, South Carolina. At Wood Creek Dental, we believe in quality care and exceptional service. Our experienced dentists and dedicated staff are committed to your oral health. We've invested in modern technology and have created a relaxing atmosphere for your comfort and peace of mind. We prioritize your experience in our calm and caring atmosphere. Our commitment to providing you and your family with exceptional service is at the heart of everything we do, and our patient-centered approach builds relationships based on trust and confidence. Experience the difference for yourself. Wood Creek Dental. Dental care from our family to yours.
Tonight's match is presented by Pella Medical Center, proud partner of the Greenville Triumph. We're back here at Paladin Stadium for Fan Appreciation Night. It's the Greenville Triumph and South Georgia Tormenta doing battle. Let's take a look at our starting lineups. First off on the Greenville side, brought to you by Pella Medical Center.
Yeah, 3 changes for Rick Wright. Christian Garner in between the pipes. His first League One start in 4. No Sebastian Velasquez, perhaps resting that hamstring that's bothered him for most of the season. No Jamie Smith again. His heel's still bothering. Ben Zakowski's out with a hamstring injury. Oliver Hald is not feeling great. So we do see Federico Estatric back in the squad for the first time in 5. Zion Scarlett, he goes to the bench as well. Perhaps we'll see him later on the wing with some pace.
A lot of faces out there that have been pushing to get into that starting lineup this season for Rick Wright. Meanwhile, on the Ian Cameron side of things, this is what they're trotting out.
Yeah, changes for Ian Cameron forced by the red cards in last week's loss to Omaha. Daniel Stevens, Jake Dengler, and Sebastian Vivas all out due to those red card suspensions. In come Joshua Ramos and Callum Stretch. Ramos normally more of a defender. We'll see him pushing a little further forward. Tonight, you mentioned Aaron Walker, former Greenville man, in the middle of the park alongside fellow veteran Connor Doyle. Both of those two in the top 5 League One appearances in all time.
The other 3 playing for the Greenville Triumph tonight, so we'll be excited to see some of the all-time vets play for USL League One in this match. Well, there's no good way to transition to this, but it was announced earlier today that former Tormenta 2 goalkeeper Holden Trent passed away. We send our condolences to the Trent family and those close to him during this unthinkable time. Tormenta and Greenville will observe a moment of silence in his honor before the kickoff. It does look like, as of right now, we're doing the ceremonial coin toss, so that moment of silence will take place after that fact. But that will be what happens once again. We send our most sincerest condolences to all of those close to Holden Trent. Just terrible news on that front.
Fans, this weekend, the Tormenta FC family experienced a loss with the passing of former Tormenta FC 2 player Holden Trent. Please join us in extending our condolences to Holden's family as we now pause for a moment of silence. Thank you.
So the moment of silence being observed at Paladin Stadium. And now both teams will make their way out on the pitch and get this one going here. Once again, you're watching on ESPN Plus, the final game of the regular season between South Georgia Tormenta and the Greenville Triumph. Just moments ago, we had the ceremonial coin toss, and it featured a familiar face for the Greenville Triumph, Ross. John Harkes is back in the building for the first time, head coach of the Greenville Triumph for the first 5 seasons. Then passed the torch over to Rick Wright. There he is, shaking some hands with former rivals, the Tormenta team. Also, of course, Captain America, the former U.S. men's national team player. Always nice to see the legend back in the house.
Yeah, now living in Virginia and helping do some youth soccer stuff up there. Perhaps he's in town for a special announcement we've heard about on Wednesday. We'll get to that, I'm sure, as the game goes on.
Yeah, a lot of different things happening in this game here tonight outside of the game, given it's Fan Appreciation Night. So, you mentioned we'll talk about some of those things as the game goes along. It'll be Tormenta in the white unis going right to left. Meanwhile, Greenville going left to right. Greenville have the edge right now in the Peach State Derby this season. Jägermeister Cup matches do not count. And we are underway here from Paladin Stadium. The Greenville Triumph trying to make it not the last time they play here this season.
They obviously have clinched that quarterfinal, but they'd love to be sleeping in their own beds next weekend instead of somewhere else. There's no doubt about that.
The scenario is as follows. We talked about it in the open, and we'll touch base on it here again, which is Greenville have to at least match the result that one Knoxville have later today against Spokane. So if Greenville draw and Knoxville draw, Greenville have the tiebreaker there. But if Knoxville have a better result, then it would be Greenville going on the road to play one Knoxville next weekend in the first round of the USL League One playoffs. So given that in mind, a Greenville victory today would guarantee that they stay at home. So let's see if they could solidify that, or if Tormenta will come in and play spoiler.
Yeah, Knoxville, the fewest goals scored in the league, but also the fewest goals given up in the league this season. We know the old adage of defense wins titles, right? See how they do in the playoffs, and that game will be next week. Of course, Charlotte could also get involved. 4-5 spot.
This one served inside. Pedro Fonseca trying to get on the end of it. Greenville back on this coast of the country after a 1-0 loss on Sunday against Central Valley Fuego. Leo Castro has the ball now. We'll play it out to Pascal Corvino, who may be playing out more wide today than we've seen him ever play this season. He'll serve it in, claimed by Ford Parker. Rick Wright said, they let us have the ball quite a bit in that game on Sunday, and they just couldn't pull the trigger offensively. He thinks this side needs to be bolder, and that they squandered a lot of opportunities, especially in the first half. But he did mention, aside from that, he just thought the guys looked tired. He felt tired. Been a lot of long travel, and his eyes were really open to the challenges that Central Valley Fuego and Spokane have to handle throughout the season anytime they go on the road. He said it just didn't feel right from the get-go that day in warm-ups going into the game.
Yeah, those back-to-back trips all the way out west certainly took a bit out of Greenville, and obviously have to travel even a little more next season with new West Coast teams coming in. Tormenta, on the other hand, gave up 30 shots last weekend to Omaha, so Greenville certainly hoping they could put the pressure on in the final third against Ian Cameron's men. Second straight season they have failed to make the playoffs after winning the title, obviously.
Yeah, that Omaha game, the game they went up 2-0, but then momentum swing when a second yellow card was issued to Daniel Steedman, which put them down a man. And then it went off the rails from there. Ian Cameron said that obviously Omaha are the best team in the league, and even though they were up 2-0 at one point, Omaha still had a lot of control of the ball, but Tormenta were able to keep them in less dangerous spots at that time. Then you go down a man, you have to sacrifice something on defense, as this one's ripped inside. Trying to bend that one in far post. Not quite on target. Lion McKinnon looking for his 15th.
And McKinnon doing what he loves to do, cutting in from that left wing. Taking on Curtis Thorne, another mid-season signing for Ian Cameron. This ball wasn't far past that right-hand post. Did get a deflection. It was a lovely ball by Daniel Wu, getting his second straight start.
So it's a corner kick for Greenville. Tyler Pollock gets that one up in the air. We mentioned Connor Doyle and Aaron Walker, 2 of the 5 leading minutes played as an outfielder in USL League One history. Also on that list, Evan Lee, who is playing, Tyler Pollock, who is playing, and Brandon Fricke, who is playing. So when it comes to the most common guys you see in a USL League One match, we've got the top 5 in this game here this evening, as far as outfielders are concerned. Goalkeepers not included in that metric.
Yeah, obviously the discussion this offseason, as it has been for the last couple of offseasons, is will we see that group back again in 2025? Perhaps the announcement on Wednesday might have an influence on whether they do come back. Well, that'll be for 2 more seasons if they end up finding themselves in a new stadium, perhaps. The announcement will be made on Wednesday between the Greenville Triumph, the city of Malden, and Bridgeway Station. The location Greenville were looking at for a stadium a couple of years ago before local politicians had their say and things were put on hold for a bit. Watch out.
Here's an opportunity. Niall Watson plays this back up top, and check that. That was Jackson Curry actually on the end of that one. And a corner kick now for Tormenta.
And we're not so sure which side we would see Jackson Curry on tonight. He's been playing both wings this season, also more centrally the last couple of games here up top.
There's Tyler Pollock, one of the 5 minutes leaders mentioned prior. And now corner kick for Tormenta. It'll be Lombardi who will swing this one into play. Lombardi's service dips in, and it's out harmlessly for a goal kick. Well, maybe not. Maybe going off a Greenville player. Definitely looked to me like it was Tormenta that got a piece of that one, but the officiating crew having a better vantage point than we do. So a second corner for Tormenta. Fonseca driving it in. Lombardi picks up the pieces. Now Chapa Herrera doing what he does best. Interrupting the play, winning the ball back. Talking about that Omaha game just a little bit more, Ian Cameron said that they offered up the wide crosses because you have to sacrifice something on defense when you go down a man. And Omaha took them, and Tormenta just need to defend the back post better because that's where they got hurt on so many of those goals in the game. They did like the resilience his guys showed through that match. They didn't let Omaha get those passes inside the box, which they diagnosed as the more dangerous way Omaha could score. But obviously a disappointing result at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm sure they would love to have taken at least the chances of their postseason participation into this game against one of their oldest rivals. This was the first ever League One game, obviously, back in the day between these two sides.
Been a challenging week for Tormenta. Ian Cameron said you gotta use different things as a motivator. Said, first off, can the younger players demonstrate some progress with some more minutes in this game? Maybe a guy like a Josh Ramos, who has had under 600 minutes played this year, as Castro brings it forward. Castro rolling it to McKinnon. McKinnon stepping inside, firing. Follow through, deflects along and out of play.
Yeah, as you would expect, McKinnon the early focus off the Greenville attack here. Looking lively down that left side.
But at the end of the day, it'll be Ford Parker who will have sole possession of the ball for this goal kick. This one goes beyond the outstretch of Pascal Corvino. Let's take a look at our keys to the game, brought to you by Acumen IT. First off, for the Greenville Triumph, it's let it rip. Not enough shots were taken in that last game against Central Valley Fuego, and Rick Wright wants his side to be a bit bolder in possession of the ball. They got to find the opportunities and take them. You're not going to be as forgiving in the playoffs when you go against a quality team that's not going to give you too many opportunities. And then for Tormenta, talked a little bit about it. Motivations for this game have got to be different, and Ian Cameron said it. Look, these guys have to represent the badge here tonight. It's about habits, it's about consistency, and it's about doing right by your club, by the fan base that supports you, by your community. You don't have that pressure, though, of trying to make the playoffs anymore, and sometimes that results in a little bit more freedom when you get out there on the field, Ross.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they come out here tonight. So as a professional, you want to be playing all the way through the final game, but sometimes, especially that heavy loss last weekend and the way it finished, sometimes you think about that first tee time postseason. But listen, these are professionals, and obviously they're always looking for a contract elsewhere, right? Coaches will be watching this game, especially guys with contracts up at the end of this season.
On the Greenville side of things, had a couple of good training sessions this week, focused on shooting. At least on Thursday they did. That's what Rick Wright was telling us. And he said, look, we want to play a home playoff game, so let's get this one. Let's get it right. And then postseason play follows up after this.
Yeah, you mentioned Greenville's offense. It's just been a little inconsistent at times this season. Obviously, the injuries in the second half have played an impact. They were relatively healthy until coming into tonight. We mentioned Ben Zakowski offensively tonight. Jamie Smith at the back. He's a defender that loves to get forward. Sebastian Velasquez being rested. We'll see how the changes affect this Greenville side.
This one sent over to Ramos. Serves in the cross, headed away by Nate Schultz. And now Anguiano walks it away a little bit, and Evan Lee will keep it going forward. Evan Lee going to be playing in a much higher position today, as that's a great ball to Castro. Castro cuts inside, still going with it. Lyon McKinnon winds up the shot and scores! The Greenville Triumph take the lead. And it's the man who's done it all season long. Liam McKinnon bangs his 15th of the year.
He also takes the lead himself in the Golden Boot race. What a pull from Evan Lee this was to Castro. Looked like he got himself into a bit of trouble, but he sacked in a couple of Tormenta defenders, and that left open the space for Liam McKinnon, who's so deadly from that distance with those low shots to the corner of the goal. Great patience shown by Castro here, the little step on it. Laid off for the incoming McKinnon.
Liam McKinnon scoring his 15th goal of the season. That goal brought to you by the YMCA of Greenville and Liam McKinnon. And as you said, Ross, that now puts him in first place in the Golden Boot race. The Charlotte Independents are playing right now, but they're further into their game. And it's still 0-0 there, so Juan Carlos Obregon has not scored yet. That's the subplot of this game, I would say. Of course, the result, the primary focus. But that was definitely a question coming into this weekend. Would we have a sole placeholder for the Golden Boot? Uh-oh, this is a giveaway. But Christian Garner covers up the mistake through the smoke.
Somewhere in the smoke there. Yeah, Richmond are down to 10 men in that game against Charlotte. There is still a chance that Greenville could play Charlotte in the first round.
And here come Greenville once again. It's Liam McKinnon again. McKinnon tried to square it across. It's a corner. Evan Lee was running.
Corner kick taken by your Greenville Triumph.
So Liam McKinnon, who's been such a star this season for the Greenville Triumph. Talked to Rick Wright about if he anticipated this kind of season from Liam McKinnon this year. And he said, yeah, I'm not that surprised. I'm more so proud of him than anything because he did what we needed him to do during the offseason. Talked about how he told him to write down his goals long-term, short-term, his daily goals while he was home in Switzerland. And when he returned, he was just a different guy. Herrera on the corner kick, plays it up top to Liam McKinnon. McKinnon takes a shot, pinballs around, then cleared away.
Yeah, there'll obviously be a ton of attention, especially from USL Championship. You'd have to think on Liam McKinnon this offseason. Most USL League One deals are of the 1 year plus one variety, so McKinnon likely free agent after this season. See if he comes back to Greenville or tries luck at the next level.
Ramos cutting this one inside, tried to dish it out to Curry. And then Chapa Herrera gets tripped up. It'll be a free kick for the Greenville Triumph. In the aftermath of both Hurricanes Helene and Milton, the USL have partnered with United Way Suncoast to help Tampa Bay area recover from the devastation the storm left behind. To learn how you can get involved, scan the QR code or visit www.uslsoccer.com/Milton to ensure individuals and families have the access to resources they need to recover. It's Niall Watson going into the books there, his third yellow card of the season.
Christian Garner taking the free kick. As you mentioned, his first start in 4 in League One. Gunther Rankenberg has been doing most of the work between the pipes for Rick Wright. We asked him if he would continue with this goalkeeping swap into the playoffs, and he said he will still go back and forth. He said he's a little torn about it. He knows in his heart the soccer people will tell you should be going with one goalie at this point, but he's looked at all the stats. Most are very, very close. Going with Garner tonight. See if his efforts this evening earn him another start next week, regardless of where the game is.
Schultz tossed this one into Corvino, and Corvino gets knocked over. Ref says fair play.
Yeah, Pascal was looking for contact there. He found it. Not enough to earn himself a foul, though.
So I'm just hearing word that Juan Carlos Obregon has scored in the Charlotte game, which means we're tied back up at 15-15 in the goal tally.
That's when he must have had a word in his ear. Entering the final half hour of that contest.
I mean, two great goal scorers by their own right, and in very different ways, Ross.
Yeah, very different strikers for sure.
Nate Schultz pushing forward, trying to get ahead. Our own Lombardi, though, guarding nicely. Anguiano with a nice touch there to Herrera. Herrera to McKinnon. Ryan McKinnon shoots off target, but it was a save from Ford Parker. Took a glance off his palm. So a corner kick for Greenville incoming. Ross, can you imagine if he had scored right there, right after we broke that news?
Ryan McKinnon feeling it tonight. Everything just seems to be on point. Ford Parker, that was a great save. Not sure if it was going on goal or not, but it didn't matter.
So corner kick for the Greenville Triumph. Tyler Polak will play this one in. Polak curls it in, nodded away. We'll roll out for a Greenville throw. Fans, make sure to visit shopgreenvilletriumph.com to check out the latest merch and kit launches.
5 Triumph fans just won a tumbler from Pella Medical Center in Section 8 Field Club. Congratulations.
Once again, fan appreciation night here for Greenville. We mentioned a little earlier the efforts to help support those affected by Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Greenville actually brought in a number of local first responders and utility line workers for the game tonight. Just a large block of tickets as a thank you for their work during Hurricane Helene when it came through the Greenville area. As we get another booking here. Player down, Josh Ramos, slow to get up.
Leo Castro, I think, going into the book for a clumsy challenge. Both strikers in the book. Both center forwards, I should say, in the book.
Third yellow card of the season as well for Leo Castro. So Watson and Castro both collecting their third of the regular season, that is. That's not accounting for cup play, which is also the fact when it comes to who hoists the trophy for the Peach State Derby. Only accounts for league matches. It was a 3-0 win for Greenville at Tormenta earlier this season, which means that Tormenta not only has to win this game, but score 4 goals because the tiebreaker is away goals. So Greenville have really put themselves in a great spot here to win this series, barring Tormenta have quite the impressive showcase.
I was going to ask you what the tiebreaker was because I wasn't sure myself. Now I know. What if this one finishes 3-0? Then what is the tiebreaker?
That's a good question. I was not informed of that one.
Little peach juggling contest, some description. Peach eating contest after the game. I like that one.
Maybe we'll see a one-on-one soccer duel between Rick Wright and Ian Cameron.
Speaking of eating contests, I was once asked at a college sporting event to enter a hot dog eating contest, and I said no because I'd already had a couple of hot dogs. But then the contest was how quickly you could eat one hot dog. It wasn't just how many hot dogs you could eat in a certain amount of time. It was just how quickly can you eat one hot dog. I said I could have done that. It was too late at that point.
How quickly can the Greenville try and get down the field here as this one's ripped across goal. Leo Castro in the area. Couldn't get on the receiving end.
Yeah, Tormenta 20 minutes into this one. Really haven't been able to get anything going in the final third. Still waiting on their first shot.
Yeah, Cameron said as far as things he wants to see in this game for the collective, he wants to see an exaggerated version of themselves in this one, to play with that freedom and unveil all the cracks tactically that this team had this year going into the offseason. And he wants to learn a little something about some of these younger guys too, the ones who haven't gotten the same amount of minutes as some of the vets and quote-unquote vets, the ones who may be young players but have played a lot this season. Those guys, you have a pretty good idea of what they can do, what they can't do, what they need to work on the offseason. But for a guy like Joshua Ramos or for some of these guys on the bench, I was going to say Curtis Thorne, but he knows what Curtis Thorne can do. Mid-season acquisition, but longtime Tormenta player. Ramos splits it through on that pass. But it ends up being a foul at the end of things. A nutmeg pass there from Joshua Ramos.
Yeah, Joshua Ramos and Evan Lee trying to outdo each other tonight. Both defenders by trade. Able to move up the pitch. That was wonderful from Ramos. Let's look at Jackson Curry, the Australian Lebanese player. Corey Bennett with another goal tonight. Mark, speaking of guys moving up to the USL Championship from League One, what a start he's had to his USL Championship career with Las Vegas. He'll be in the playoffs with them next weekend. Former Charlotte Independence man.
Bennett's done well. Reigning Golden Boot winner Trevor Ammon's done well. Zeko wins this one back for Tormenta. This one will roll all the way back to Christian Garner as Greenville will reset from the very back end of their formation. Effort from Tyler Polak there results in a free kick. Fans, download the FanSaves app and follow the Greenville Triumph for access to exclusive deals at your favorite restaurants and breweries. Now rolls out of play, Tormenta. Couldn't keep a hold of the ball there.
Going back to the Greenville kits, they announced a new kit, which I think is going to be used next season. Let's look at Rick Wright and Joe Irwin having a chat. Joe perhaps giving them some tactical advice. So the reverse of the green kit they had with the squares on it a couple of years ago, now blue. Not sure if they're going to use it next season officially. There's been a trend the last few years of teams, not so much in the USL, but around the world, releasing their next year's kit before the previous season's over.
Not sure how much of a fan of that I am, but I'll have to simmer on that one.
You're not the one making the money, Mark.
Nope, I am not. Schultz. This one juggled inside. Evan Lee showing off some footwork, goes to the ground. Ref says fair game. Now some pressure from Corvino. That's a player who's been hungry to get into the lineup, and he's showing some of that feistiness here. As far as tactical advice is concerned, something that Rick Wright told his guys before last week against Central Valley Fuego is that the Central Valley Fuego guys are going to be playing with the freedom. Now they don't have to worry about trying to make the playoffs, and they don't have that stress on them. And that's the same situation coming into this game going up against Tormenta. He said they'll be playing for the love of the game. He says, outside of that, I don't know what to expect from this Tormenta team this weekend. They could go a lot of different directions, and we could sit around and guess what Tormenta are going to do, but that's no use. For Greenville, this is a chance to get ready for the playoffs and get right in that regard.
Yeah, you're talking about that right side, Pascal Corvina. Perhaps the right midfield spot is the one spot perhaps not sewn up by anybody this season for Greenville. Zion Scarlett, we've seen there a little bit. Pascal Corvina, Ben Zakowski. Nobody's really grabbed that right side spot and taken it for themselves. We've seen Hayden Anderson play there as well. Interesting to see where Rick Wright does go in the postseason on that right side.
So 25 minutes into this game, the most likely of suspects scored the goal for the Greenville Triumph. Leo Castro picking up his second assist of the season. Of course, Lion McKinnon getting goal number 15 on the year, which for a moment put him in sole lead of the Golden Boot. As here's Castro. He chips this one to the left-hand side, streaking in for it. That's Evan Lee, but it's ushered away. But Herrera picks up the loose ball. Herrera will play it back. Little miscommunication there between Chapa Herrera and Carlos Anguiano. foul and a free kick.
A little more quicker decision-making tonight from Greenville in that final third. As you mentioned, Rick Wright, he wanted them to be a little braver, and we've seen it so far. It's a lovely little chipped ball in by Castro.
I mean, as a striker or as an offensive player, there has to be that lack of inhibition to make the wrong decision, because no decision being made is definitely the wrong decision. As Evan Lee pushes it forward, taps this one back. Schultz rolls it back up ahead. Castro tried to flick it back to Evan Lee, and now Schultz chips this one inside, goes upward. McKinnon gets pushed down, and it's a point to the penalty spot. Liam McKinnon with an opportunity to double the advantage and reclaim the golden boot for himself.
Yeah, clumsy from Pedro Fonseca. You can see what McKinnon was doing. He was looking for the contact. Fonseca just didn't do a good enough job of getting out the way. McKinnon was flying into the box. There's another look at it here. Yeah, Fonseca just cut into the running path off McKinnon, and really no complaints from him.
Really wrong place, wrong time situation for Pedro Fonseca, as Liam McKinnon from Lausanne, Switzerland, looking to make it 16 goals on the season in what has already been such a fantastic year for the striker. McKinnon makes it 16. And how sweet is the top of the Golden Boot race?
Forward Parker went the right way, but too much power in it from McKinnon. Those early season penalty nightmares for Greenville have been forgotten about. McKinnon now the man from 12 yards out every time, and he doubles the Greenville lead here.
Liam McKinnon, and this is what's so impressive about this guy. Of course, he leads the league in shots, which you would anticipate from a guy who's scoring a lot. He's also 5th in the league in crosses with 102. And he's also tied for 2nd in the league with 5 assists. Now, there's quite a handful of players at 5 assists, but this isn't just a guy who's scoring. He is crossing, supplying opportunities to his teammates. But when he gets the opportunity to score, he's done it quite a few times this year.
He feels comfortable in this 4-2-3-1. He loves to get inside. He's able to do so. Greenville certainly not as reliant on the crosses, I don't think, this season as they have been in the past in this 4-2-3-1. See Evan Lee again pushing forward. Greenville just seemed full of energy tonight. Good rest after those 2 long trips out west.
That goal brought to you by YMCA Greenville, and Corvino jars open another opportunity. Castro with some patience tried to bend it in top shelf.
He's mad at himself. He gave up the opportunity with the right foot. Beautiful space for himself on the left, but just couldn't get his left foot around it enough to curl it inside the far post. But great pressing from Corvino. Forced that turnover. Bringing great energy on this right side. Normally a central midfielder, being asked to do a little different role tonight with the injury problems.
If you're the Greenville Triumph, you come into this game, if you had to check a couple boxes of things you'd want to happen in this game, I think first off, of course, getting the win would be good. Secondly, Liam McKinnon locking up that golden boot is something that I'm sure they would love to have. But I think also getting someone else to score a goal in this game, get that second option as a threat for the playoffs, would also be a benefit to this Greenville Triumph team as they look to take on, whether it be Knoxville, Charlotte next weekend, and then if they're so lucky, play one of those top teams in the semifinals and final. They need to have more than just Liam McKinnon scoring goals.
Yeah, I mean, the last game of the regular season, not normally, especially when you need a win to clinch a playoffs quarterfinals, not normally the time you see a coach tinkering with things, but Rick Wright clearly not afraid to try some things. He's obviously been forced into some changes with the injuries, but Corvino's looked impressive out wide. Evan Lee pushing forward than perhaps we've ever seen him since his college days.
Liam McKinnon gets tripped up. It'll be a free kick for Greenville. Check out all the exciting postseason action starting in November as the USL playoffs presented by Terminix showcase the top teams battling it out for the ultimate prize. Go to USLLeague1.com for all the latest playoff information. been a tight season in USL League One. And I'm sure we're going to get some dramatic games in the playoffs. It's going to be exciting.
Well, we've seen it in the history that home field doesn't mean a ton normally in the League One playoffs. Feeling that one.
Still curled up, Pascal Corvino. As you mentioned, he's been bright in this game so far on the right-hand side.
Knee to the midriff from Pedro Fonseca's. Lucky to not end up in the book with that one. It's perhaps on the referee's blind side.
Our head official tonight, Amin Hadzic. Had a talking to with Corvino after the play, checking up on him, making sure he's all right. Ailing it a little bit, but we'll walk it out.
Yeah, Corvino, one of the rookies on this Greenville squad. We asked Rick Wright about the rookies that obviously come from college. They don't play a ton of games, though. I'm reading rumors this week of the college season getting extended quite a bit in the future. All sorts of rumors flying around the college game at the moment. But he said, yes, mostly the mental side of things. Mostly the rookies on Greenville squad have come in and out of the lineup. They haven't certainly been forced into a ton of minutes.
A lot of shirt tugging there, and Brandon Fricke goes down.
A slight concern considering it's that ankle again. There's the, I was about to say Pedro Fonseca now in the book, just delayed one. Brandon Fricke clutching that elbow that's been, excuse me, that ankle that's been a problem at times this season.
Fourth yellow card of the season for Pedro Fonseca. Another one writing down into his card there. Amin Hadzic.
Ian Cameron had some complaints about the yellow cards last week against him. I don't think he can have any complaints about the ones so far here tonight.
That yellow card brought to you by GSP International Airport. He said he felt they were hard done by the calls on Daniel Steven. He felt both those yellow cards were arguable. He had no complaints about the other two red cards that took place in that game. He said that's just cooler heads not prevailing in those situations. You're down a man, it's distress. Those he had no issues with, but it's that first one that changes the entire tenor of that game, and that's the important one. The first dismissal, that is, to be specific. These two teams, of course, playing here tonight to close out the regular season, and then the unified teams will have a scrimmage after the game. Greenville and Tormenta both having their unified teams ready to go. Greenville had a player signing event earlier this week. Always cool to see those events take place in USL League One across USL, or even just in soccer in general. But that'll be a fun unifying factor between these two sides after the match. It's definitely a respectful rivalry between these two. You know, sometimes you get rivalries in sport where there's a lot of nastiness and there's a lot of ill will held for the other side, but this has very much been a series that a lot of mutual respect has been held for. I mean, you saw John Harkes before the game going over to the Tormenta bench and shaking hands with all the guys there.
Yeah, both ownership groups very family-oriented. There's a little late challenge there from Brandon Fricke.
Whistle blows, and this one will come back.
And the Irwins and the Van Tassels. A yellow card for Brandon Fricke.
Which is a rare occurrence, Ross.
Yes.
He has no yellow cards this season, and he's a guy that has become notorious for not collecting yellow cards throughout the years. He's been a very clean center back player, which is not always the case for center backs in this league, including good center backs.
Let's take another look at the replay here. Yeah, he just blocks the run. Perhaps a harsh yellow.
A little bit of a moving pick. So Evan Lee picks up his first yellow card of the season.
Hope he wasn't on some kind of bonus to not pick up one this year.
I remember earlier in the season there was a game where we thought he had been given the card, but then there was a correction later that it was not given to him. But that one, very clearly given to Brandon Fricke. Was his contact that ended the play.
He's not someone to shy away from a physical challenge either. So yeah, it's an amazing job that this was his first card of the season.
an outstanding level of tact, you could say.
Brandon Fricky now, his 5th season with Greenville, played first year with Lansing Ignite. Mentioned John Harkes earlier. Obviously his fingerprint still all over this Greenville squad, especially with the likes of Tyler Pollack and Evan Lee. Both came with him from his stint with FC Cincinnati in that first season. Dallas J was also part of that group.
Aaron Walker, also a member of that core, and now with Tormenta. I haven't to say his name much so far yet in this game, Aaron Walker. I'm sure guys like Tyler Pollack and Evan Lee getting the kick out of having to mark him. Probably so familiar with the way he moves, the way he behaves on the pitch, and there he is right there, winning the ball back for Tormenta. Getting the best of former teammate Liam McKinnon.
Obviously, Rick Wright taking over from John Harkes, but Rick Wright very much his own coach, brought in a very different style, a very much more dynamic midfield than Greenville have had in the past. Oof. It's a hefty challenge there.
It's definitely been a clunky game here in the first half. A lot of contact. I've already seen several bookings. Daniel Wu going to ground this time.
Daniel Wu not one afraid to stick his head in places where he probably shouldn't.
So he'll get checked up on by Rachel and this training staff. One of many one of many coaches and staff members that Rick Wright shouted out when I asked him how he felt this first season went from his side of things as a coach, if anything surprised him. And he said, no, it's about what I expected. He's really leaned on hiring people he could trust. First and foremost, he brought up Mark Ward. Said he lightened the burden. As we take a look at that contact again. Yeah, that's always rough.
I don't think there was a foul on the play. Just in front of Wu's head colliding with the back of the Tormenta player's head. He appears to be okay.
Ryan Mackey, also part of that training staff. Help keep tabs on Rick, make sure they don't go overboard in training. He says, I'm a pretty old school coach, so I'm trying to push the players to play a little longer, but these are athletic trainers who are keeping tabs of the numbers of the signs behind it. Go, no, right, Rick, this is when they need to stop. This is when we need to cut it off.
At least the temperatures are getting a little cooler now. Speaking of the temperatures, obviously some cold weather cities in the top 3 of the USL Championship, USL League One standings. Madison, Omaha, Northern Colorado. Perhaps we'll get the sighting of the orange ball again, Mark. It's been a while.
I think you've been secretly hoping for it these past few years, Ross. Just been waiting for it to make its return.
Of course, speaking of the college rumors, we've got pro soccer rumors flying around this week as well about a certain league perhaps going to the same schedule as the rest of the world and perhaps needing a mid-winter break to avoid the orange ball sightings.
This one knocked up the pitch, but picked up by Greenville. Here we go again. Castro, let it fly.
Yeah, Tormenta just trying to hold on here till the break. Had the edge in the possession, but still no shots from the visitors. 10 touches to 2 in the opponent's box in favor of Greenville. I'd love to get that 3rd goal before the break.
Watch the USL Championship in Spanish on 2DN, the nation's leading Spanish language sports network. Select matches, including the championship final, will be available as this one served inside for Castro, and it's cleared away. Championship final will be available in Spanish throughout the rest of the season, along with some other matches, as it breaks down in the other direction. Watson taps this one out wide to Ramos. Ball gets serviced in. Trickles through to Watson, and he nearly picked that one out. Niall Watson, the Englishman, trying to put that one top ends.
Turn and strike. Certainly wasn't far away from that top corner of Christian Garner's goal. Tormenta with their first shot of the evening, and it comes in the 42nd minute.
To wrap up the thought on the Spanish broadcasts on 2DN, you can go to USLChampionship.com for the complete USL TV listings. Castro with some room to operate, closed off by Lombardi. Effort from Tyler Pollock to try to reclaim possession for Greenville, but the ball continues to knock around, and Tormenta will throw it in. Actually, end up going to calling it a free kick. And the visitors will start with possession from inside the pitch. Lombardi taps this one back to Connor Doyle. Aaron Walker lets it roll through. Asked Ian Cameron what it's been like to work with Aaron Walker this season, and Ian Cameron said it's been an absolute pleasure. Watson plays this out to Fonseca. Fonseca feeding it back up top. Watson trying to bring that one in for a shot. Now Walker rolls it out to Ramos. Ramos taking on Pollock. Contact, ball rolls out of bounds, and a corner kick ensuing.
Tormenta putting a little pressure on here in the final third, finally.
Joshua Ramos been busy over there on that right-hand side. Trying to handle Tyler Pollock one-on-one. Some 3-on-3 action, as in the numbers on the back of their jersey. Lombardi once again on the service. Rainbows that one over top. A little too much juice on it.
Also decision day as well in USL Championship this evening. North Carolina is taking the lead late in the first half against Las Vegas as they're trying to make the playoffs. Their first year back in the championship after obviously winning League One last season. Alex Anderson with the go-ahead goal there.
Golix getting on the board once again. Free kick for South Georgia Tormenta. Quickly paid in. Fonseca tapping this one out. We're gonna get 4 more minutes tacked on here by our 4th official. As this one played across goal, Lombardi back in the center. Knocked away, out for a corner kick.
Huge interception by Nate Schultz. Covering back into the center. The ball was about to find the feet of Niall Watson. Watson here, yeah, Watson likely would have smashed that one home from 6 yards out. If Nate Schultz hadn't been there. The ball also could have gone absolutely anywhere off the foot of Schultz, including at the back of his own net.
Fonseca drives this one in, headed outward. Lombardi taps back up top. Doyle chipping it overhead. And Daniel Wu is able to escort it out of bounds. Nate Schultz making the play there. Rick Wright calls him a guy who's overlooked everywhere, an overlooked player on this team, Nate Schultz. And he's just a consummate pro. Takes care of his body so well. He's careful with his diet. They've pushed him to be more forward thinking with the ball this year, which is not really in his DNA up to this point. So he started to stick around after practice to get some of those reps in to practice pushing the ball forward. As this one slips ahead. And claimed by Parker. Corvino deflects this one out of bounds. So this one going Greenville's direction now. Schultz, the guy we were just talking about moments ago, gonna throw this one in. Corvino chested down by Castro, and he went ambitious there. And Parker will blast this one down the field. Two minutes through the 4 minutes allocated. A goal in the 12th minute for Liam McKinnon, assisted by Leo Castro, who was so patient with the ball after the service from Evan Lee, and just lays it off for McKinnon to smash home. And then a penalty drawn and converted by Liam McKinnon to make it a brace on the evening. Jackson, Corey, go ahead.
I was going to say another former League One man with a big goal tonight. Arturo Rodriguez, those long-term League One fans will remember him from his North Texas days. He may have knocked out Loudon from the playoffs. Goal for Charleston tonight. It's good to keep tabs on the former League One guys.
And I love a good shout out to the old League One days. I know it's not a very old league, but I love getting some of those fans who have been in the mix since 2019 to get some callbacks to the players and the stars of that age. As this one's threaded through to McKinnon, and McKinnon get tugged on by Curtis Thorne.
Sneaky play by the veteran Englishman. The referee was looking at the ball, I assume. Didn't see the tug on the jersey.
It's a situation of knowing what you can get away with in certain situations. So the 4 minutes have transpired, and right on cue, that is where the first half will conclude. A Liam McKinnon brace has given Greenville the 2-0 lead over Tormenta as it stands right now. They have got a home game dialed up for next week if they can hang on to this advantage for the second 45 minutes of action. Great contributions from Pascal Corvino. Liam McKinnon, though, has been the main star tonight thus far. With that in mind, it's time to tie things up for now. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we'll have some halftime content for you here on ESPN Plus, including looking at some of the best goals across this year in USL League One. The 2024 season had some bangers, so we decided to recap you on some of the best from the season. 2-0 your scoreline after 45 minutes. A second half still on the docket here on ESPN Plus. We'll be back after this break.
At Piedmont Natural Gas, being a part of the communities we serve is important to us, because to us, community begins with you. We strive to address the needs of our communities by investing time and resources to help improve the quality of life for our customers. For over 60 years, we have funded programs that support education, the environment, and community impact. Our Energy Assistance Program, Share the Warmth, helps customers pay their energy bills. We're committed to helping our neighbors by powering the vitality of our communities.
Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. Like in 2005, when lottery proceeds helped purchase new school buses that kept South Carolina students on the road to success. Because arriving safely to school every day is the first important step on their journeys to the careers and lives they've always dreamed of. When you play the lottery, you're helping fund the futures of students all over our state, which is why education is our middle name.
Welcome to Wood Creek Dental, where dental care is a family tradition. For over 40 years, we're proud to be a family-owned practice, serving the community of Greenville, South Carolina. Our experienced dentists and dedicated staff are committed to your oral health. Experience the difference for yourself. Wood Creek Dental. Dental care from our family to yours.
South Carolina's economy is growing, bringing new businesses and opportunities. The need for electricity is growing too. At Duke Energy, we're meeting the challenge, providing even more electricity that's reliable, that stays affordable. To do this, we're investing in our communities with a diverse, balanced mix of energy sources and making targeted upgrades to the grid so that South Carolina can thrive in a smarter energy future.
We're back here in Greenville, South Carolina for halftime between the Triumph and Tormenta here on ESPN+. Well, it's been a great season of USL League One soccer, which meant we had some great goals throughout the year. So let's take a look at some of the best from throughout the season. We've even been aware that this is a league that goes up and down the field very often. McKinnon with a feed inside and Castro leaving me speechless. You can say about that one.
Settled by Moran. Overhead kick is in! It is miraculous! Maxi Schinfeld with the equalizer of all equalizers in the Henny Derby. Coutinho. Looking for Roberts! Oh, that's astonishing! Jamil Roberts with a stunner! The former Tormenta man haunts his former club.
Prentice drives one across. Prentice ball. Oh, it's volleyed in! Galindres! Wow! Juan Galindres! Unbelievable!
This is the last action. As it's sent in, all the big bodies forward, it's in! The Richmond Kickers win the Henny Derby!
Deep. Ball in. Gill. Gill! Deep. Ball in. Gill. Gill! Flipped along to Lancaster. Oh, that's a stunner! A crowd silencer from one of the best goal scorers in the USL ranks. Welcome back, Cam Lancaster. 1-0 Lexington. It's Boyce over top. Boyce! Boyce! The Flamingos stretch to the sky. That is a dazzler.
Midense! What a hit! Alfredo Midense lets it fly from distance. 1-0 Fuego on the road.
Casual ball. Not a good thing about it.
Alfredo Midense.
Hernandez on the volley. Oh my word! Marky Hernandez out of this world! Super sub no more. Super starter, super goal scorer. Absolutely spectacular.
Is it somebody's birthday? Dad, come watch us hit this ugly piñata. Dad!
When Hornets show up, so do we. Terminix it. We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
I kept it pushing and busting and moving and running and shaking and hustling. My competition be mad at themselves because they keep on falling down and struggling. They know I'm the man. I'm just showing out. I keep it real. That's what I'm about.
Mosquitoes show up, so do we. Terminix it.
Yeah, trick. I said what I said. I'd rather be famous instead.
There's a new airline in town. Breeze Airways has arrived at GSP International Airport with nonstop flights to 5 cities nationwide. Enjoy low fares, no change or cancellation fees, and convenient nonstop service. Make your next trip seriously nice on Breeze Airways. Visit flybreeze.com to book your flight from GSP today.
And we're back here at Paladin Stadium for some more halftime content brought to you on ESPN+. 2-0 your scoreline. Greenville with the lead over Tormenta. Let's take a look at the news and notes from around the USL here. Mark Schoenster, Ross Davenport with you. And of course, all the talk right now is about the playoffs, which are coming up. News and notes brought to you by Tiger Balm. Union Omaha last week clinched the Players' Shield for the 3rd time in club history. They're the first time that a team has won back-to-back years as the Players' Shield champion, but they'll be looking to one-up last season by winning the tournament as well as claiming the Players' Shield. And of course, with everything still getting shifted around, we'll see the postseason bracket, which will be announced tomorrow, along with award winners and all. Let's take a look at our team of the week from last week's action here. Shout out to the likes of Nate Schultz for the Greenville Triumph. Only member in this game that is a part of the team of the week. George Skelton making some big defensive plays. Not often do we see a defender earning the player of the week honor, so when they do, you gotta make sure to shout out the likes of George Skelton. Been a stalwart defensively throughout the years in USL League One. With that in mind, also some shout outs to the likes of Luis Alvarez, Denbor Benson, Callum Johnson, Max Schneider, and the rest of the lot going all the way down the line. Ilya Illich winning Coach of the Week. Let's take a peek at the scores in the games here today. First off, Union Omaha capping off their Players' Shield season with a 3-1 victory over Central Valley Fuego. The Charlotte Independents 1-0 over the Richmond Kickers, which means that One Knoxville need to get a result later today in order to meet up with the Greenville Triumph next round, or else the Charlotte Independents will hot One Knoxville in the standings, and the Kickers will be without both Landon Johnson and Dakota Bardathan in their playoff match against Omaha, which has now been locked up in that regard because of red cards in that game against the Jacks. And Chattanooga and Lexington in a game that's about 30 minutes in, still scoreless there. Now let's take a peek at the playoff bracket for next weekend, brought to you by Terminix. This is how it looks right now. Still some shifting that could be had. But as far as Greenville's concerned, the most likely result is that they're playing Knoxville. It's just a matter of where will they be playing Knoxville. They're looking to be at home at this moment, up 2-0 over Tormenta. That would be where they'd be meeting next weekend. A defensive team in one Knoxville. Greenville will have to figure out a way to break them down. Another great matchup all across the board. I'm sure we'll see an upset in one of those games, but we still have some action this weekend to tighten up. 45 minutes to go in this one. We'll be back on the other side of this break with the highlights and the stats, and of course, the second half kickoff on ESPN+.
It starts with only one tap to have total home control with Priority One Security. You can view your cameras and video doorbells, integrate our smart locks, lights, thermostats, and control your garage doors. Customize your smart devices to fit your schedule with our automated controls for a smart, effective, and secure way to protect your home. Experience total control and complete security from the convenience of our one app, one tap smart security and home automation on demand. Call Priority One Security and tap that app. Official partner of the Greenville Triumph.
At Piedmont Natural Gas, being a part of the communities we serve is important to us because to us, community begins with you. We strive to address the needs of our communities by investing time and resources to help improve the quality of life for our customers. For over 60 years, we have funded programs that support education, the environment, and community impact. Our Energy Assistance Program, Share the Warmth, helps customers pay their energy bills. We're committed to helping our neighbors by powering the vitality of our communities.
It doesn't matter if you're active on the road or in the gym. Your body is your strongest tool. Spartanburg Regional Sports Medicine Institute is here to push you to the next level. With 2 convenient locations, our doctors can diagnose, treat, and heal at our North Grove Medical Park and Upward Star Center offices to get you back and active, in the gym, in the game, and to the next level. We never quit because you never quit. For more information, call 560-BONE.
And we're back here for the second half of action here between the Greenville Triumph and Tormenta. Mark Schoenster, Ross Davenport with you here on ESPN+. Let's take a peek at some of the numbers from the first half of action brought to you by Coca-Cola. And those numbers are coming your way here momentarily. Looking at the expected goals, which is something you will not see on the board. Greenville with the 1.13 advantage to Tormenta's 0.16. And now here are the numbers for you. Anything really stick out to you here, Ross, except for the fact that it's pretty lopsided in Greenville's favor?
Yeah, Tormenta tried to come back into it in the last 5 minutes or so. Was the only time they were dangerous in that final third, but they did manage to hang on to at least just the 2-goal deficit. It could have been a lot worse. Greenville just dominant in that first 45.
Well, one thing worth noting, 2 yellow cards for both of these teams. So those players will need to be privy to the fact that they're already on a yellow card here in the second half. For Tormenta, it's not catastrophic for them to get reds here, but Greenville definitely do not want to tie their hands for their playoff game next weekend.
Yeah, Brandon Fricky and Leo Castro, obviously the 2 with their yellow cards, both very key starters for Rick Wright. So we'll see some substitutions at some point. Rick Wright did mention Hassan Gabo's been practicing very well.
Maybe we'll see some early changes with Castro and Fricky coming out of the game here. We'll see exactly the thought process of Rick Wright and his coaching staff. Mentioned earlier that it'll be a decision that his assistant Mark Ward will have to deliberate on. A lot of nice things to say about Mark Ward, not only on our conversation this week, but throughout the season. Really been helpful in that regard. He said, my job is to make your job easier. And by easier, he doesn't mean in the traditional sense, but in the fact that the two of them can knock out twice as many things at a given time if they're both working on checking off different boxes. Well, there's one of the changes. Not one, excuse me. Preston Kilwine's been in this game. I don't know what happened to me there, Ross.
Happens to the best of us, man.
Don't have to say his name a lot in the first half, Preston Kilwine.
He's doing a lot of chasing, that's for sure. Greenville players with the ball in the final third.
We'll see how aggressive Greenville are here in the second half. And same could be said, how aggressive will Tormenta be down 2 goals? At this point, it's 45 minutes for the rest of your season.
Talking about postseason awards, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot here. For
All
these
right.
two teams, is anybody going to find themselves on the teams of the year?
I'd imagine Liam McKinnon at the
McKinnon
very
for
least.
Sure. I would imagine.
If there's anybody for Tormenta that might be up for conversation, perhaps Pedro Fonseca might make his way onto the second team, perhaps. I don't know about the first team.
Young player, I can't remember if Jackson Curry's still eligible. I think he is for Young Player of the Year again this year.
Back-to-back years.
He had a
would be
good
wild.
start. Ashmere Spengler not in the squad tonight. He also got off to a hot start and cooled down a little bit. You know, Sebastian Velasquez missed a ton of time with injury. Chapo Herrera missed a bit too. Perhaps Herrera a candidate. Brandon Fricky, always in the mix. Also missed some time.
Ball driven in centrally for Evan Lee. Lee, who has played every single game this season. When you talk about players who miss time here and there, Evan Lee has been a rock in that regard. 22 of 22.
Yeah, somebody not in the Greenville squad tonight to do it. Jamie Smith might be an option, I think. As solid as he's been in the back and has scored some goals this year. Yeah, second team candidate.
Anguiano plays it up ahead. McKinnon. That one nicely tapped through. Castro still going with it. And the offside flag goes up. Greenville picking up where they left off in the first half. Aggressive, finding opportunities.
Yeah, just finding too much space in that Tormenta box. Castro quick on his feet tonight. Managed to stay relatively healthy this season, for the most part. Missed a bit of time.
The one name we mentioned that will for sure be in that first team, I would imagine, is Liam McKinnon. And, I mean, he'll be up for Player of the Year, of course, with the goal tally he's got. With the Charlotte Independence game ended, you can effectively congratulate Liam McKinnon on winning the Golden Boot. It would take Ropapa Mensah to score 7 goals to tie it up. The same could be said for Kempis Tequila. And then it just gets more than that for Cameron Lancaster or Christian Cheney. So, by all intents and purposes, Liam McKinnon has won the Golden Boot as this one slips through.
It's not like when you have a quarterback that has a number of rushing yards and then takes a knee and goes backwards. Liam McKinnon cannot do that.
Can't unscore a goal, that's for certain.
No. I'm sure he'd like to get the hat trick though and not make it won by a penalty, I think.
Castro heads it along. And look at the burners on Evan Lee, who squares it across. And look, it's Liam McKinnon! And he's gone and done it!
No,
it's Pascal Corvino, Ross! He's the one making the run.
It looked like such a McKinnon run. McKinnon was there. Pascal Corvino making himself a case here to start next week.
His first goal in league play, Pascal Corvino.
He's enjoying the
knocking it
celebration.
home.
And McKinnon was just behind him. Corvino got his horse just like Evan Lee did. Celebrates with the Reedy River Riot, does the rookie. Lovely ball by Evan Lee. Composed finish by the midfielder.
Pascal Corvino has been pushing Rick Wright to play him more. He said it's been him and the silent assassin Carlos Anguiano who have been getting on Rick's case about getting them more minutes, getting them those starts. Talked about just how much these guys are pros who have been training well and deserve more minutes, and now it's a goal for Pascal Corvino.
Greenville goal, number 16, Pascal Corvino. Assisted by number 12.
That goal brought to you by YMCA Greenville and Pascal Corvino. It's a 3-0 victory, or lead. It looks like a victory as of this moment for the Greenville Triumph. Evan Lee plays it to McKinnon, and McKinnon has that one parried away.
It's a good save by Ford Parker. He may have hurt himself. It was awkward. Now he's down. Greenville going to carry on for now. They may put it out of play here. The referee's going to stop the game. It did look like an awkward save. It almost looked like Ford Parker got caught a little flat-footed going one way and then had to stick a palm out, because when he tried to go to his left, perhaps something popped. Right ankle. So he tried to push off it. We know this turf can be a little unforgiving at times.
Ford Parker in his 16th start this season. Coming over from New Mexico United, where he played for 3 years. Spent 2 years with Birmingham before that. His college ball was spent at the University of New Mexico and UC Irvine. It was an awkward save for Ford Parker to make. Looks like he's going to walk this one off. The 28-year-old goalkeeper has 4 clean sheets this season. Saved about 67% of the shots that have come his way. Struggled with an injury. Drew Romig stepped in his place. Did really well in his absence. That's Parker, who's been getting the looks here at the end of the season once again. Now we wait for everything to get back into the swing of things.
Parker's still limping, and I got to have a substitution. Might as well.
So we're going to get some substitutions here. Quite a few coming on for Tormenta. There's a big one here that we're going to announce. It's number 18, Dodge Brooks, who is coming into the game, making his professional debut. Number 18, Brooks, the 18 years old Academy guy. Has spent so many years with the Tormenta Academy, has been training with the first team, and is now getting the chance to play in his first professional game. We'll also get a goalkeeper substitution. So it's Drew Romig in for Ford Parker. We'll also see Mason Tubbridge, Gabriel Rodriguez, and as I mentioned already, Dodge Brooks, 18 years old. Getting the opportunity to get a little under 40 minutes of action here. As we get back into play. This one rolled out to Jackson Curry. That one knocked away and then booted away. And Castro has a lot of room to run with. Leo Castro streaking down the field. Still Castro, got fancy with it, and Evan Lee. He put it away. Appeals for the offside flag, but they won't come. Evan Lee makes it 4-0. It's a goal-scoring fiesta for the Greenville Triumph.
He was behind the ball, so I think he was onside. Castro with an audacious attempt. Romig with the saves, and Evan Lee rewarded for his attacking prowess tonight.
Getting to play further up the field this evening. It's become the ongoing thing to remind everyone he played as a 10 in college, despite being a center back to start with the Greenville Triumph. Moved his way to the holding midfielder spot, getting the opportunity tonight to play further forward. And he's able to clean that one up after Leo Castro tried the audacious effort, as he put it, to get by Drew Romig. That goal brought to you by the YMCA Greenville and Evan Lee. His 6th year with the Greenville Triumph. Him and Tyler Pollock, the forever Greenville men, doing it with John Harkes in attendance tonight, who was their coach for the first 5 years. Of course, Rick Wright having been a part of the coaching staff for the entirety of Greenville's tenure. Yellow card given to Callum Stretch after the fact. His 4th yellow card of the season, brought to you by GSP International Airport. And there's the YMCA Greenville goal for you. 4 goals today for the Triumph. They wanted to score some this evening to get into good form going into the playoffs, and they've done just that.
Rick Wright will be thrilled. The first 57 minutes of this game so far. He'll want the clean sheet, though, as well.
The previous yellow card presented by the official to South Georgia's number 6, Callum Stretch, in the 57th minute.
And now perhaps time for Rick Wright to make those changes. We'll wait and see.
Hitting the brakes a couple of times and keep trying to figure out a way to get through. Contact made, free kick won by Tormenta.
Only the 2nd time Greenville have scored more than 3 goals this season in the USL League One play. Of course, they beat Chattanooga 5-2 back in mid-September. They scored 3 times in 3 of their first 4 games this season.
Triumph fans, it's time for our next lucky giveaway.
4 of their first 6, they scored 3 times. Slowed down as the season went on, but they are now the 2nd leading scoring team in League One behind Omaha.
Ball being whipped in, headed across, still in the mixer, and it's into the back of the net. Tormenta get one back here.
Well, I said Rick Wright was going to be happy, now he won't be.
Curtis Thorne, in his return to Tormenta this season, gets a goal here.
South Georgia goal, number 4, Curtis Thorne, in the 59th minute.
Just banging around, ping-ponging around, and Thorne in the right place at the right time to hammer it home.
Curtis Thorne, 29 years old, the Englishman, in his 6th appearance for Tormenta this season after signing back with the squad in the middle of the season. Needed someone to step into that right back spot after Nick Akoto signed and moved over across the pond in that historic deal. As the Greenville Triumph will get a substitution here.
Yeah, Akoto's been playing a little bit more recently for Burton Albion, though they're off to a terrible start this season, just 4 points from 12 games.
So substitution brought to you by Spinks will be our adjustment of the match, presented by Upstate Spine and Sport. Brandon Fricke making his exit from this game. Not often that happens, but understandable on this occasion with the yellow card. And coming in, Rodrigo Robles.
I seem to remember a game a couple of years ago, Mark, that you did when Greenville had a 4-0 lead against Tormenta.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It was 4-0 in 30 minutes, and 5-5.
Historic game for certain. Ryan McKinnon, lovely ball inside. Castro couldn't put it away.
So you're getting Brandon Fricke out of the game before he can pick up. Would be a devastating 2nd yellow. Good move there. This man might also find himself off the pitch soon, I would imagine.
We'll have that one for you in just a moment. Thanks to Crunch Fitness, and congratulations, Charlie and Owen.
Robles, the outside of his boot, plays it out wide. It's Nate Schultz. Anguiano to Herrera. This one ripped towards goal. Saved by Romig. That's Pascal Corvino getting another lash at it.
Rick Wright, he's been a Pascal Corvino fan since day one of this season. He's really starting to come into his own here in the season closer. Has he done enough to earn himself a starting spot next week?
Here's McKinnon. Threading it centrally. That was a lovely little ball. Castro let it go through nicely. Here's a look at it again. Robles trying to get his first goal with the Greenville Triumph. Reedy River Riot having a good time. Fans, download the Fansays app and follow the Greenville Triumph for access to exclusive deals at your favorite restaurants and breweries. 60 minutes into this one, 4-1 your scoreline. 2 goals from Liam McKinnon, and then goals from Pascal Corvino and Evan Lee to give Greenville a 4-0 lead. But Curtis Thorne getting one back for Tormenta. Gabriel Rodriguez being called for the foul there. Booted away. 30 more minutes to go in this one. Ross, you were talking earlier about potential players in the first, second team, etc. I mentioned Pedro Fonseca's name, and I asked Ian Cameron about him a little bit and how he's grown this season, and Ian Cameron put it pretty candidly for me. He said, I think Pedro Fonseca deserved a higher performing team around him this year, but despite that, he's grown, took some constructive feedback early in the year, and it resulted in an uptick in production. He's been creative, he's worked on his leadership, and has taken ownership of transitional defending. So still a year of growth, even if Ian Cameron was hoping that the success would build up around Fonseca a little bit more. He was hoping that he would, when he came in after winning the championship, he could kind of help carry on that legacy and carry on that winning tradition, but it takes more than one player for that to happen.
Yes, and Pedro Fonseca is one of those guys, played very serious level as a youth with Fluminense, Espanyol in Spain, and obviously solid player with Louisville, drafted in the MLS draft, just kind of floated through with Real Monarchs, and yeah, he's made an impact with Tormenta. We'll see if he sticks around next season.
That one deflects out for a corner.
Ian Cameron did say there would be a lot of changes. He did admit that to us this week. Obviously 2 disappointing seasons after that title run. Ian Cameron under contract for a few more years with Tormenta. He's not going to be going anywhere. Obviously the Tormenta crew there have plenty of faith in him to turn things around.
Tyler Polak will put this one back into play for the Greenville Triumph.
It's halftime in Chattanooga, by the way, 0-0. Chattanooga and Lexington in the basement battle.
Polak sends it in. Put back in the thicket for a moment before the clearance is provided. Select the official match ball supplier of the USL League One and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice.
I mentioned it earlier, Greenville now with 38 goals on the season, only second to Omaha, and they're 47. Madison, Noco could still leapfrog them. Madison now 2-3 behind Greenville. A very impressive offensive season. Wright's retooled midfield.
Tormenta looking to tack on another goal in their tally this year. Cross-driven inside, had some heat to that one.
Brave header by Daniel Wu.
Aaron Walker trying to recover it for Tormenta, and draws the foul in the process. Aaron Walker, a guy that Ian Cameron would love to have back next year in some capacity, whether it be as a player or maybe if you wanted to get into coaching. Aaron Walker getting up there in the years of a professional soccer player, 34 right now. And like you mentioned, Ross, he said it, look, we're a small market team, so it's not a given that we should contend year after year. That being said, we have the pieces in place. We've got the support from the ownership that we can contend. It is a thing that we are more than capable of doing. Tunbridge sends the cross inside, headed away. He said they're going to have intense analysis about everything from their recruiting, their play style. They'll be aggressive this offseason because they want to play in those big games again, like that championship game in Tormenta against Chattanooga to win the title a couple of years back.
Yeah, we talked to Ian Cameron about the potential of Tormenta 2 coming back to life. Took a year off this year. Obviously such a great production tool of quality players for Ian Cameron's crew. So they may come back next season, perhaps in a different sort of form, less financial burden. Watch out.
Daniel Wu, no nonsense there. Knocks it out of play, avoiding any sort of dangerous situation. Rick Wright, on the other hand, his eyes aren't on the future just yet, Ross. He's still got this season to think about. Playoffs coming next week. As of right now, looks like it'll be right here at Paladin Stadium against one Knoxville or Charlotte Independence, depending on how the Knoxville-Spokane game goes. Well, Knoxville just need to, at the worst, lose by a goal.
Yeah, that game will kick off in right about a half an hour. I'm sure there'll be plenty of eyes on that one in Charlotte. So Greenville too, we'll take a look at their potential opponent next week.
Curtis Thorne, the goal scorer for Tormenta.
Greenville won 2-0 in Knoxville back in June. So beat them in the US Open Cup as well.
Yeah, that late, exciting goal from Chapa Herrera in extra time early on in the season.
They had the 0-0 draw here at Furman in late July. Certainly expect it to be a tight affair, as you would from the 4 or 5 matchup.
So we're gonna get a substitution here for the away side. And it's the end of the night for Aaron Walker, the former Greenville man. He'll step out, and Tavio Dalmida will step in. Dalmida, man from the Ivory Coast, getting his 17th appearance of the season.
The glasses on, not something we see too often these days, the safety glasses. And Greenville will be looking to end a 3-game playoff losing streak in League One. Lost to Charlotte last year, lost to eventual winners Tormenta in the semi-final back in 2022, and then the final in Omaha in 21. They only have 1 regulation win in their 6 playoff appearances, Greenville. That was back in 2019 against Lansing. In the semi-final there before they fell to North Texas in the final 1-0. Dominated that game back in 2019.
Love to get that home game to try and break that trend here. Greenville fans here will try to propel them in that regard as this one. The cutting back pass, fought for and won, and the shot goes in. Mason Tunbridge gets another back for Tormenta.
Christian Garner complaining about something. No matter, it's 4-2, Mark. Suddenly having flashbacks from 2 years ago.
But 20 minutes to go.
Oh, Mason Tunbridge gesturing as though he took it away. Perhaps a consultation. They're saying offside. After consultation in his ear, perhaps. For Amin Hadzic, and it remains 4-1, excuse me.
So Tunbridge still with just 2 goals scored this season. The offside flag going up and declining that goal. Tormenta thought they had one. We thought they had one. But it remains 4-1. And Tormenta will try it once again. Tyler Polak heads it out for a corner.
Greenville just getting a little sloppy here.
I want to get lackadaisical in the final 20-minute window.
Let's see if we can see here. Yeah, Tunbridge. There's something in front of the goalkeeper. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, Rodriguez right in the face of Christian Garner. And so the refs consultated, then made the decision. The goal scorer not offside, but an offside player blocking the vision of the goalkeeper means that you interfered with the play. It's not the most common of offside calls, Ross, but it's certainly one that should be made.
And we saw a questionable, similar non-decision made last week in the Premier League at Manchester City. That one certainly clearly in the line of sight of Christian Garner. That's what he was complaining about as soon as that ball went in the back of the net. He was right.
McKinnon whipping this one across. Falls to the right-hand side. Castro shoots, saved. Had a lot of time to work with it. And that was a reckless challenge there. Ross Evenport holding his breath.
I was cringing. And that's probably going to be Castro's last effort, I would think, if Rick Wright wants to get him off here before he finds a second yellow. First touch let him down a bit on the scoring chances. Castro makes his way slowly off before he ends up in the book again and missing next week.
I don't want to be missing any of your key pieces going into the playoffs.
Only Eamon Zayed's allowed to do that.
Oh boy.
They won. He got away with it. We will see.
He
Federico
did get away with
Stachek.
it, that's true.
Hayden Anderson coming on.
So, Spink substitutions. Hayden Anderson and Federico Stachek both stepping in. Leo Castro coming out. And Pascal Corvino coming out.
Yeah, great night for Pascal Corvino. And Hayden Anderson has got 17 minutes to prove that perhaps he deserves to start on that right side next weekend. Perhaps a little more defensively sturdy than Corvino. Anderson, a defender by trade, but has been playing wing back as well as in the midfield this season.
Some pressure on Drew Romig. Zion Scarlett also subbing into the game. Coming on for Liam McKinnon. So with 75 minutes through here nearly, 4-1 your scoreline. And Tunbridge had that one get through, and Jackson Curry nearly kept it in play, but unsuccessful at the end. Can't watch the match? Turn on Sirius XM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including USL All Access, as we pump the brakes on that for a moment. And now it's out of play. That'll be a corner kick. You can check out USL All Access Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, plus hear live matches from the USL, MLS, Premier League, and more, all on Sirius XM FC 157 in the new Sirius XM app. Chapa Herrera will take this corner kick. "15 minutes to go in this one. Anguiano leaves to his left, plays that one inside. Romig had to claim the defection. Sliding challenge from Chapa Herrera. Does well there.
Yeah, Chapa Herrera, not the kind of guy you can tell to calm down. As Regret has told us all season, he just runs forever. He'll have his hope to have his midfield partner Sebastian Velasquez back next week in the middle of the park.
Well shielded. Anguiano can't touch that one because he was offside, and the flag will go up anyway. I'll say he affected the play regardless of if he touched the ball or not.
Fans, don't forget to join us in the Michelob Ultra Supporter section to get autographs from your favorite Triumph players post-game. You're also invited to stay with us to support the Greenville Triumph Youth Unified team in their scrimmage.
Another Tormenta throw here. Curtis Thorne. Chucks that one in for Curry. Jackson Curry plays it out to the left-hand side. Threaded through. Lombardi. Looks like Evan Lee stepped in. Now having to play a little bit further back now, Evan Lee. I mean, you take out Brandon Fricke and suddenly you're missing a center back. Well, look who's still in the game, number 12. So goes from near the top of the formation, slides all the way down. Very flexible, Evan Lee.
He's a jack of all trades, that he is. The goal tonight, as well as the assist.
Thorne laying in the cross, headed outward. One-timer blocked by Hayden Anderson. And now here comes Estachuk. Some of the youngsters streaking forward for Greenville, but the opportunity left to the wayside for Greenville.
And Hayden Anderson just got it caught under his feet. He's 4-on-1 almost for the Triumph breaking. Kilwine down, now back up.
Preston Kilwine in his second year with Tormenta. Only a little bit after that one.
This was just a little behind him.
Limping a little bit as Tunbridge has it in the corner. Well done there by Mason Tunbridge. And then not so well with that second touch.
Yeah, just trying to do a little too much. Mason Tunbridge.
Callum Stretch trying to touch it to Thorne. It'll be a Greenville throw. eFootball 2024 is here. Live your dream, rep your team, and play as your favorite USL Championship club. eFootball is free to play. Download now. Garner able to send that one down the field, and then a whistle blows. Chipped up ball, fishing for Fonseca.
Well, Mark, which of the matchups, assuming we have Knoxville Greenville, which of the matchups are you looking most forward to next week?
That's a good question. I mean, I think the 4-5 seed matchup is always one that offers an interesting proposition. Looking at how the other ones square up at the moment. I think that Charlotte-Northern Colorado game could also be very interesting.
That was going to be my pick. The Knoxville-Greenville game is really going to depend on what Knoxville bring to that contest. Whether they just play as they can do on the road and just sort of park the bus and invite Greenville to come at them, or whether they try to play some football. Under Ilya Ilic, they've been playing a little more expansive stuff, but still very solid defensively. the Charlotte one is going to be my fun one to watch.
Scarlett lets it fly. Glanced out of play by Curtis Thorne. Be a corner kick with 10 minutes to go in this affair. The Greenville Triumph looking to lock up the trophy in the Peach State Derby this year. Well, the way these League One playoffs go, though, Ross, we could pick a game we think could be good. But the fact of the matter is any single one of these could end up being a thriller. I mean, how many people thought that the Charlotte Independents were going to go into Warner Park last year and beat Union Omaha after the season that the Owls had?
Yeah, that was one reason I was looking forward to that Richmond-Omaha matchup, because Richmond just go in there with a lot of young talent, not much to lose, but 2 red cards tonight can make a difference for Darren Sawatsky in that starting 11, that's for sure.
Never know with some playoff magic what can happen. Scarlett got a piece of it, but not enough of it. Polak will push it forward. I'll square it to Anguiano. Anguiano looking to play the whole 90 minutes here. Having played under 500 minutes this season in regular season play. Herrera splits the defenders there. Nice find to Anguiano, but he left the ball behind him. Nestachuk trying to track back and win it back for Greenville.
Richmond did hold Omaha to a 0-0 draw. It was in Richmond earlier this month. Did lose 3-0 up in Omaha earlier in the season. It was obviously a very different Richmond team.
Like we said, a 0-0 draw is all you need to advance potentially.
Certainly Warner Park, a place where you can perhaps try to park the bus a little more effectively than some fields. The tight confines.
Whether the kickers would say it or not, the change in goalkeeper to the youngster James Sneddon has really was the marker of when things turned around for the kickers. They were able to turn the tides, pull some results together, and slip into that last spot. And that other game we haven't talked about yet, Forward Madison looking to see if they can make this postseason campaign better than the Jägermeister Cup one. Meanwhile, Spokane, their first ever trip to the postseason, of course, in their inaugural year. Exciting for that franchise. So a substitution for the Greenville Triumph here, brought to you by Spinks. Daniel Wu comes out and Hassan Gabo will step in. Has been training well as of late, according to Rick Wright. So he'll get a welcome here, the second-year guy for Greenville. So again, you can hear the drumming in the background. It's fan appreciation night, as it so often is for the final home game of the regular season in USL League One. Rick Wright said, win, loss, or draw, the fans make the noise. And he says, it's loud here, even if the stadium is less contained than Legacy Early College was. So he wanted to give kudos to the fans for being able to do that, despite the more challenging acoustics. And he also shouted out the front office for working their tails off throughout the season to get people to the games and to other events as well, like a trunk or treat recently that went very well.
Yeah, and then they got the excitement about this announcement on Wednesday, which everybody is obviously expecting to be stadium related. Obviously wouldn't be ready for next season, but 2026 perhaps.
Herrera lofting that one over to Anderson. Hayden Anderson taps it back, and Anguiano lets it go. Tormenta still running bodies forward. Trying to sift that one across to Tunbridge. Greenville will have possession once again. Sliding effort there, wins the ball back for the home side. Once again, see the collection of youngsters pushing forward for Greenville. Zion Scarlett, 20 years old. Scarlett trying to show off some moves as that shot ripped by Robles.
Stay tuned to social media tonight. I think we perhaps might see the playoff schedule released tonight. League teams tomorrow, perhaps. We said in the news and notes.
It may be more about just when the games are happening.
Well, we've had obviously three of the games have already, three of the hosts have been determined for a bit now, so I think they will have already sorted out what night they're playing. So you have to wait on this one. Though I'm sure Greenville had an idea of when they would love to play.
It's also not when and where, but also what you're going to watch it on.
There's also availability as well, being that Greenville should obviously share the stadium with Furman.
That's true.
I think we're on the road next week. I'll double check that here in a second.
Availability, of course, but as I was about to say, it's also about where you're going to watch the game. Most of them will surely be on ESPN Plus, but here in West Springs, that maybe we'll get a match on one of the other platforms.
That's always exciting. Yeah, Furman at VMI next Saturday. So the stadium is available for some Saturday action.
Service bending in, nodded away by Curtis Thorne. Tyler Pollock tapping it back to Gabo. Video that was posted recently with Tyler Pollock in it, talking about how he's participating in ACS's Real Men Wear Pink campaign, which is to promote the fight against breast cancer. He recorded a video with his wife talking about why they're supporting the cause. Talk a little bit about how it personally affected them. Zion Scarlett stepping in on that one. Scarlett squaring it across. Hayden Anderson, it's saved. The follow-through is good. 5 goals tonight for Greenville. And Hayden Anderson claims his 3rd of the year.
Pascal Corvino going to match you with that goal. It's a good save by Romy, but the momentum took him down to the ground and an easy tap in the end for Hayden Anderson.
Zion Scarlett cutting it across, and Hayden Anderson 2 times gets the job done. And as you said, Ross, Pascal Corvino getting the start on that right-hand side did really well. So the challenge going into Hayden Anderson was, what could you do? And he has stepped up on the score sheet. Greenville wanted some goals coming into this game. Goals are what they've gotten. And now it's about, can they carry it into next week against the team that has been the most stubborn about not conceding them?
To save some. I'm sure Rick Wright will be telling this guy, save some of these for next week.
It certainly helps the positivity and momentum that this Greenville team will have going into that postseason bout. 5 goals on the night. Lion McKinnon getting the early brace, which effectively claims the golden boot for him, having gotten the better of J.C. Obregon's 1 goal today, which is something else you gotta love, Ross, when coming into the final day, you've got 2 players tied for the golden boot, both of which score, giving themselves a good chance to claim that top spot, as Zion Scarlett has more space on that left-hand side. Scarlett tries to thread it inside. Well blocked away on this occasion. Here's an effort. Mangiano couldn't keep it down. As you see there, 3 minutes of stoppage time added on.
Yeah, other than losing the clean sheet, I don't think Rick Wright could have asked for a better way to go in to the postseason with this result tonight. Tormenta, on the other hand, lots of things to think about this offseason for Ian Cameron and ownership. Get things back on track in Statesboro. We really were never in this match from the beginning. Perhaps when they got it back to 4-2 briefly until that goal was ruled out, it was a glimmer of hope.
Look at Zion Scarlett there. Robles trying to fight through the contact, but couldn't get it through Dodge Brooks. Once again, worth mentioning Dodge Brooks in his professional debut tonight. Academy guy has developed well through the Tormenta system, trained a lot with the first team. Ian Cameron said that he might get the look here tonight. He's earned it. So congratulations to him. Ooh. Looks like we may get another booking before this one's all said and done.
It's Preston Kilwine coming across for the collision. Silly one. Don't want to end on a nasty note. A relatively clean game, other than the yellows here and there. Certainly been played in good spirit.
Once again, you mentioned a lot of changes to come for this Tormenta team in the offseason, but if there was someone that Tormenta could trust to make those changes, Ian Cameron is definitely that kind of guy. Very analytical thinker of the game. Love having the chance to talk with him throughout the season. Always gives a very thoughtful and insightful answer on where he feels his team is at, what's going well, what's going poorly. So he'll be able to break down exactly what was lacking this season and what needs to be bolstered. We see quite the new look Tormenta team next season.
Yes, and sometimes coming off a championship, you don't want to keep doing what you're doing. You want to try something else and see what works in this level. Obviously, the league, I think, since 2022 has improved a lot. The CBA obviously making a difference as well.
I mean, between last year and this year, the immigration of USL Championship talent into this league has expanded dramatically.
Well, the CBA especially affected some of the smaller budget teams, which certainly Tormenta is one of them. Cameron with the beard look going.
And the final whistle sounds. The Greenville Triumph victorious in the Peach State Derby. 5-1 your final score. They're rolling into the playoffs with a little bit of steam now. Rick Wright will be pleased with the way his team has bounced back after last weekend. And now they have something to build off of going into their home playoff match next weekend in the USL League One playoffs. 5-1 your final score. We're gonna step aside. When we come back, we'll wrap this all up with a nice bow on ESPN+.
What exactly is a Sully steamer? Our sandwiches are made to order, which means once you've taken a look at our big menu and narrowed down your options, we go to work. Our sandwiches are stuffed with fresh, flavorful ingredients and then placed in our special steamer until the sandwich gets warm and soft and fuses all the flavors together to achieve the peak of tastiness. Are you hungry yet?
The lottery isn't about jackpot winners. It's about investing in our students. Even when it began in 2002, it was lottery proceeds that helped fund new technology initiatives in schools across South Carolina. And when students booted up those screens for the first time, they discovered a lifelong love of learning that shaped them into the professionals and people they are today. When you play the lottery, the real winners are always our students. After all, education is our middle name.
It starts with only one tap to have total home control with Priority One Security. You can view your cameras and video doorbells, integrate our smart locks, lights, thermostats, and control your garage doors. Customize your smart devices to fit your schedule with our automated controls for a smart, effective, and secure way to protect your home. Experience total control and complete security from the convenience of our one app, one tap smart security and home automation on demand. Call Priority One Security and tap that app. Official partner of the Greenville Triumph.
We're back for some final thoughts here in the final regular season match for the Greenville Triumph and South Georgia Tormenta. 5-1 in favor of Rick Wright's side. Smile on his face. He's always a man with a couple of jokes under his belt, Rick Wright. Let's see just how they got to this final score here for the full-time highlights. Brought to you by GSP International Airport. Mark Schoenster, Ross Davenport with you here. Lots of goals to get into. Starting off with wonderful hold-up play from Castro. Patient. And then he sends it to the guy that you probably want to send it to on this Greenville Triumph team, Liam McKinnon.
Clinical first-time finish to take the lead in the Golden Boot temporarily, as Obregon would match him. He earned himself a penalty here. Went down perhaps a little easily, but Fonseca just clumsy in the end. And well-deposited penalty by the man from Switzerland.
And we get into the second half, and Greenville would add on to the score. Pascal Corvino banging this one in. It seems like when that guy scores, he just scores rippers.
I apologize for calling him Liam McKinnon because it was such a Liam McKinnon run up the middle. And it was Pascal Corvino trying to get a start next week, perhaps in the playoffs.
Then Evan Lee, cleanup duty after the cheeky attempt from Leo Castro. Trying to bookend the season in the regular season with some cheeky goals, but Evan Lee gets the job done. But an answer from Tormenta, it would be Curtis Thorne picking up the pieces here. Couple of deflections, fell to his lap, and he put it home. Not much Christian Garner can do about that one.
It was good headed by Lombardi into the mixer. Polak's clearance wasn't good enough, and Curtis Thorne finished the mess.
Then in the 88th minute, one more for good measure, this time from the rookie Hayden Anderson, getting his third goal in league play this year. Also from that right-hand side, contending with Pascal Corvino potentially for that starting spot next weekend. And that is where the highlights conclude. And now we've got the full-time stats brought to you by Coca-Cola. 21 shots from the Greenville Triumph. Rick Wright wanted them to take some chances, and take them they did.
Yes, and Omaha got 30 last week. That was obviously with some extra men at times, but yeah, Greenville did what they had to do offensively. Interestingly, both teams with exactly 375 total passes tonight, but Greenville did the damage when they did have possession.
Worth noting, Liam McKinnon has scored a brace in 3 of the last 4 meetings against Tormenta, and he scored a goal in that other meeting they had. So he has turned into a monster against this Tormenta team. For Tormenta, this is where the season will end. They'll be looking ahead to 2025. Meanwhile, for the Greenville Triumph, it's a home playoff game next weekend, either against Knoxville or the Charlotte Independence. That remains to be seen. But for the broadcast tonight, for our broadcasting crew this evening, Ross Davenport, I'm Mark Schoenster saying thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your night, and we'll see you next weekend in the USL League One playoffs. Have a good night.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League League One cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League League One.